in Nigeria. We have paid our taxes in Nigeria. We have lived in Nigeria and brought up our children in Nigeria, even if some of them may have jackpot by now. And then some of us are outside the country, in the diaspora, looking into Nigeria, loving Nigeria, trying to see what we can do for this great nation and make this nation great again. With me on the platform is Pastor Sonny Enebi, who supports us in presenting, and of course, Jumoke, all the way from California, who has been such a blessing to this entire group, Jumoke Akintela. We thank you for everything. So Nigeria, where are we at this point in time? And how did we get to where we are? Here we are, looking at 2023. We have about 15 presidential candidates. We have featured all of them here before, 15 of them running for the same office in 15 different parties. Till date, no independents, okay? Of course, we have the two leading parties, the APC, who is the party in government now, the party in power, and also the PDP, who was in power 8 years ago for 16 years, and they are rearing and veering to come back into this race. Okay. Aside from that, we have parties like the ADC, the SDP, Labour, as shown is head with APWP candidature, and a myriad of others who are wanting to be part of what the whole process is. So are we going to get a good and great government in Nigeria in 2023? Are we going to be able to make Nigeria great again, and so on and so forth? It's open for discussion, open for thinking. I was talking with somebody recently in the oil and gas industry. We're all worried and concerned about the state of affairs in Nigeria and how things work. And his conclusion, which I agree with 100%, is that no one really truly cares for Nigeria. No one truly cares for Nigeria. You know, I was asking him, how come the so-called elites of Nigeria, the so-called intelligent people, and so on and so forth, how come they have not come together to work hard at producing a leader for Nigeria? The Bible says in the book of Samuel, 2 Samuel chapter 5, that the people came together to make David king. It was the people that came together to make David king. In fact, he had been anointed about 30, well, maybe 20 chapters before. Well, no. He had been anointed, yes, in 1 Samuel chapter 17, he had been anointed to be king. But the final coronation and the making of his kingship came when the people came and they went to David and says, David, your profile, your CV, your achievements, your attitude, your courage, and what you've done for Israel fits the profile of somebody that we should make our king and our leader. And they made him king. So I was saying, why can't elites, why can't the people that know better in Nigeria come together to make who we think is suitable king? How come we always seem to just get a little bit stuck only with people who have offered themselves and wanted to rule for different reasons? Okay, so he said to me that, well, the truth of the matter is that the economy, the system, the politics, the governance has so drilled into Nigeria the survival spirit, the spirit of let me sort myself out, let me look after myself. So he says, for example, there's no light. What you do, instead of complaining or grumbling to government, you can buy a generator and another backup. For example, the roads are bad. What do? You avoid those roads. Or if you are able, you fix the road yourself and keep moving on. If there's a petrol scarcity, we simply jump out of there, get a couple of what you may call jerry cans, and buy a petrol. Nigeria is tough. You have a plan B. You get the passport or the visa of another country and take away from time to and get away from time to time, or plan to get away if the push comes to shove. Schools are not working. What do? You don't complain. Pick up your child, register them in a school that seems to be okay, or send them abroad at great expense to yourself. So everybody just has this, let me take care of myself and let's leave Nigeria where Nigeria wants to be. And because of that, there's no collective desire to come together to make Nigeria great again. And it looks as though our political class, they're just there thinking that this cow called Nigeria is just milkable forever and ever and ever. Just keep milking Nigeria and just keep getting your own piece of the cake. What do we need to do to make Nigeria great again? I'd like us to take this discussion from 2 or 3 perspectives. Number one perspective is now, in the now, the present term, okay? Between now and February and March 2023, when we'll have elections, what can we all do collectively or individually to seek the greatness of Nigeria and not the power and position and influence and money-making of a few? How can we collectively come together and do something between now and 2023 to make Nigeria great? And then subsequent to that, in the midterm, okay, so somebody emerges in 2023, finds himself in Aso Rock. What do the citizens now do to make sure that Nigeria will be great again, in spite and with whoever finds himself in Aso Rock? I said in spite and with. So with, if Nigerians are able to express themselves and work together and cooperate with the fellow, or in spite of it, if it turns out that he or she is not really what we expected and is a bit of a letdown or disappointment, okay? So that's in the midterm. What do we do in the midterm? And then finally, what do we do in the long term, to make Nigeria great again? If we can put these 3 pieces together, then we may be able to leave this platform with an agenda for greatness. We can call it an agenda for greatness, something that we can motivate people and mobilize people to be part of and to be inside of. And at least we have a roadmap of how we get Nigeria to where it truly should be. So I want to thank you all very, very much for coming and joining today. I know a few people are still going to join, and if you want to call 1 or 2 people, send them the link so that they can be part of this discourse, so that we can, at the end of the day, print out some kind of a communique, okay, setting the agenda for making Nigeria great again. A roadmap that we can sell or serve to the people of Nigeria for somebody or the other to run with. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Ituah Ighodalo. The African Leadership Group is committed to good governance, transformation, good politics in Africa, hopefully to help the development of the economy and the transformation of the nations of Africa. That's why it's called the African Leadership Group. And this is the Nigerian Leadership Series, which is one of the discourses that we're having to bring about a great Nigeria. That's what we're thinking. So I want Nigerians to speak. We've also done our presidential candidate scoreboard, which will tell people how to score the presidential candidate. If we're able to get our technology right, we will launch. If not, we will find an appropriate time to ensure that we're able to launch. It's one of the tools of the African Leadership Group to ensure that Nigerians can score their leaders before they begin to vie for office, or while they're vying for office, they know exactly the criteria with which to give them marks and to decide who really they should vote for. Let me stop here and see whether there are any hands up, or if Minister Sonny would like to make a few clarifications and comments and lend his own weight to this subject of making Nigeria great again, setting the agenda. I want to listen to people and then pass through my own opinion and comments as we go on. Thank you. Sonny, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Making Nigeria great again and taking Nigeria back is an agenda we both spoke about way before the current wave of movement we have in Nigeria. And I want to thank you very much for spearheading this group. Before this group was formed, we have been on the journey of talking about how to take Nigeria back. Even before Donald Trump came up with the mantra of making America great again, we have had a dream of making Nigeria great again. And how did that come about? If you are slightly up to 50 or over 50, you will have seen some good days, some glory days in Nigeria. And we don't want to, dream dreams. We rather want to see visions of a better future. We don't want to gather and be talking about our better yesterday in a country that we know has all the potential. So when we gather people that grew up in the 60s, we tell you how much better things were in the 60s. Ditto for those that grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And progressively, it's like we are seeing better yesterdays. And Nigeria has quite a lot to offer. Right from when we were young and in primary school and secondary school, we kept hearing the notion of the world is waiting for Nigeria, that Nigeria is the centerpiece of Africa, and that whatever we do in Nigeria will affect the whole Black race. So we're at a crossroad once again. There have been many attempts to recapture Nigeria and make it great again. We are at that crossroad again where we have to make a decision based on the kind of government that we run. And we are happy to have all of you here on the platform. This is not just going to be talk, but it's talk that we also intend to put actions into so that at the end of the day, we can bequeath a better Nigeria. And let me just digress a bit. I was listening to a gentleman last week, Kanye West. He was being interviewed, and many of you may know him. I think he's a musician. To be honest, I really quite don't know the music he's popular for, but I think I know the name Kanye West. And they say his other name is Ye or something like that. And he was really talking about how to really make America great again. That he raised up his hand and said he's not ashamed. He's a Donald Trump lover. And that he thinks that America is going the wrong direction in his own thinking. And he had quite a lot of things to say. He spoke from a believer's perspective and how America should be restored and made to go on the right track. I mean, so I am no supporter of Donald Trump, but I listened to what he had to say and he made quite a lot of sense. Drawing the parallel between what is happening there and what is happening in Nigeria. The same thinking that got us to where we are cannot deliver us into the future that we need. All these people that have been hustling around power today, some have been there for the last 20 years, some even the last 40 years, some all of my life. Buhari, for example, I was less than 10 when I started hearing that name, Buhari, and he's still there. He's still the president up till today. And a lot of the other people that are jostling around power. So the same people that got us into this mess obviously do not have the capacity to take us out of it. So the conversation today really is, we as Nigerians, what is our role? How are we going to get engaged in the whole process? And that's where ALG has come in, to provide a platform, open it up for Nigerians to be part of government, part of letting your voice be heard, at least in Nigeria for a start. Like Pastor said, we are not restricting ourselves to Nigeria, we are going beyond Nigeria. And this coming election is a litmus test for us to know how we are going to roll. So once again, today is an open mic. Like Pastor said, we would like to hear from everybody, and we will then try to take 1, 2, 3 action points out of the conversations of today that we can progress and see how we can either use it to engage the candidates, or we can use it to push an agenda that will surely make Nigeria great again and help us to take back our nation. Thank you very much, Pastor. I yield the floor for now and allow others that want to say something, the mode it will take. Would we have a moderation? Pastor?
Yes, Sonny.
Yeah, so what mode do we go? Do I moderate? Does Jumoke moderate so that we'll know if people want to?
I think we should get Jumoke's comments also.
Okay, Jumoke.
She's out there. Let her speak to the issue. And then I think you or her can moderate.
Yeah.
And then I would chip in from time to time and then give my closing remarks.
Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Pastor. I think I just want to follow up on what both you, both Pastor Sonia and Pastor Ituah had spoken about. You know, that comment that the people came and made David king. I think it's very important. The role of us as Nigerians, oftentimes we've felt powerless. We've pointed to whether it's the political leaders or the religious leaders or the traditional leaders as the ones that have the power to change. But we also need to look inward. What is it that we as Nigerians can do? Is it our attitude towards law and order? Is it our attitude towards leadership, even our own, within our own sphere of influence? How do we lead our own accountability? Those qualities that we want to see in our leaders, we need to begin to exhibit those. So how do we go about that? How do we make sure that we elect or select the right leaders for Nigeria, where we are and where we hope to go? And how can we actively participate and engage to make sure that we have the Nigeria of our dreams? It is a collective effort. It is not just for a few. We all need to dig in and make sure that we are active participants in realizing this Nigeria of our dream. So that would be my comment for now, and probably pass it on to Stasha if she has any other comments. I know there are a few people from the diaspora that had contacted me that have quite a lot to say about the way forward. And there is also the role of the diaspora. We know the Nehemiah Project as well. So what can they do to really engage and contribute to moving Nigeria forward? Thank you.
Well, if I can just chip in there with our co-hosts for tonight, is that as a group in the background, we've been working very hard over the last 2 years. We've convened, we meet weekly, and it constantly allows us to get feedback, personal, close, and up-to-date feedback from the public community. So we know that there is expectation, not just locally inside South Africa, but I mean inside Nigeria, but the expectation for Nigeria to take its place in terms of leadership, take its place in terms of demonstrating the skill collection, the collective of skills that we have demonstrated globally, especially with diaspora as a showcasing of what Nigerians typically look like, showcasing the skill set of what Nigeria as a nation produces and has produced over the last 60 or more years of education since since we got our independence. So I think what we want to do is just to ensure that right now, as we move into 2023, we pull in all the different organs, We are doing our part as ALG, and we've got a lot of traction so far. INEC has already reported the additional PVC registrations and additional voters of 12 million addition. And they've reported to us that when you look at the population of the voters in Nigeria alone, we're like the population of West Africa just showing up at the polls. They've guaranteed us a whole new improvement of what to expect. So ours is now to make sure that, all these things are coming to play. However, we now have to do our part in making sure that we select the right leader. We know we've been told over and over again that a nation deserves the leadership that they vote for. So if the likes of Kanye West can say that they want Trump, now America deserves Trump, no matter how you look at it. So that also means that if we're not getting great leaderships, it's because that's what we are deserving of. So we're looking forward to 2023 becoming a time when we will rewrite the narrative, and going forward, Africa can look forward to the true leadership coming out of Nigeria as we improve one year after the other, improve our economy, improve every area of growth that is required to make our nation great again. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Shaji, for those really nice comments. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay,
But there's
good.
a feedback. There's a feedback. I think you
Now,
have two
we
devices.
need to, I think, okay. There's a feedback.
Not anymore. It's
Is
clear
there
now.
a feedback still on now?
No, you're clear now.
Okay. Okay. I think, Mrs. Kashidemi, you said something like Nigeria or people get the leadership that they deserve. Okay. So are we saying that the leaders that we have gotten in Nigeria are the kinds of leaders that we deserve? Are we resting this conversation on the fact that it is leadership that is the problem, and therefore we should focus on fixing the echo is back. We should focus on fixing the leadership. If the leadership is the problem, how do we fix the leadership? And if leadership is part of the problem, what are the other issues that we have in Nigeria that we as citizens of Nigeria can fix to indeed make Nigeria what it should be? It'd be nice to hear these comments at this point in time and see what people think about it.
We have a raised hand from Samuel Dada.
Okay, Samuel Dada. Samuel Dada, please unmute yourself and let us hear your comments, please.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Well, Pastor, I love the area you cited from the Bible. But before that part, there is a part in the Bible as well. That's 1 Samuel 8, verse 7. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to what her mother that spoke before me. So just to tell you that her people, they've rejected good leaders. Look at what we are facing. Pastor Enebi was speaking about 1984 to 85 of Buhari. To the level of the intellectuals and the level of people we have in Nigeria, do we still need to go back to the kind of leadership that we're having today? Look at what is still playing as at present day. That some people are still claiming that the level of APC, PDP, the kind of president they are producing is what we need at this get age. where we have our youth that falls within 18 to 35 years that took the 65% population of Nigeria, where they don't have future. Pastor, I'm not a pessimistic person, but I don't know how do you want to help our country, because I'm afraid that if Nigerians should go back to the same old big wigs that doesn't have the strength or capacity to put this country with the level of technology. Look at most of these developed countries, they are working with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Where are we? Where are our children? They build their children from 3 years with computer, free in their schools. They have access to it with electricity. And Nigerians have the resources. We have the human resources. We have the natural resources to build our country to become a great nation. But here we are today. But they choose to select the leaders that God is not even giving them. This is where the problem lies, Pastor. How do we change the minds of the people? On my part, we have been doing political education on Twitter and everywhere, trying to change the minds of people. They will tell you, the younger people that we were telling them, they don't have experience. Experience of what? Experience of corruption. Because if truly those ones you guys are telling us to go for, to vote for, they have the experience, we won't be where we are today. In the last 2 months, I've been traveling all around the world, and I've seen places. As I'm speaking with you now, I'm in Scotland. I can see development everywhere. And I cry. And these people, there is cold here. These people, they don't have the sunlight. We can't even produce solar energy. Every Nigerians, they will tell you, most of the guys are doing a low show kind of things that is even pumping up recently. If we have a stable electricity in Nigeria, how those guys will involve in hairdressers, barbing salons, some craftsmanship work. Nothing like that. And nobody is talking about this. Those days we have vocational classes in Nigeria where people, you go to learn a trade and you become somebody. But where are all these things with the level of technology we have now? Pastors, Nigerians are choosing the leaders that God does not have hand in it. This is where the problem lies. We have leadership problem. We are not being pessimistic, but we need to speak truth to ourselves. Let me just leave this. Let me just give the mic for now. We had more into the contribution. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Samuel. It's always great to hear from you and hear your insightful comments and contributions. You have said that somehow or the other, we Nigerians are the one that have rejected, as it were, good leadership. We have just simply rejected good leadership, quoting also from the Bible, like myself. But you need to also understand that sometimes the decision on leadership was taken totally out of our hands, especially when the military came in and all the coups that they had to, that they did, okay? And then again, ironically, when a lot of us were thinking of voting in 2015, based on what we thought were his records in 1983, 84, thereabouts, we said maybe this Buhari man should come back and instill some discipline in our polity. And almost 40 years later, is almost like we didn't quite get it right. Well, maybe 32 years later, is previous overthrow. So is it to say that it is us Nigerians that are rejecting good leadership, or is it to say somehow we've had all kinds of leadership foisted on us that we had limited control over? And therefore, what do we do? What do people think before I ask Mr. Alex Ajibade to make his comments?
So we also have Lara that would like to speak at some point too.
Okay, maybe we should ask Alex to give his own opinion then.
Okay, special regards to you, sir. And I seize this opportunity to say thank you to everyone on this platform and all protocols observed. Most of the time, my own view of the whole issue seems to be at variance to the majority. But this is just what I want to say. Number one, for Nigeria to move forward from where we are today, it's not a question of 2023. It will go beyond. Why? We operate a democracy. And if everybody is talking of president now, we've forgotten that we don't have the senators. We still have to approve. The House, that's the senators and the House of Reps. Who are those people who will be there? And we should remember also that when Obasanjo wants to do some things, these people held him to ransom. To pass the budget, if you don't go by what they want, they hold you to ransom. You appoint ministers and it's not ex-governor, ex-minister, one of them, they hold you to ransom. And those we know that do not perform, they will ask them to bow and go out. So whoever is coming and wants to make a radical change in this country have to contend with the House. And if you are from a minority group, like we are talking of Peter Obi, who are the Labour Party reps, who are the Labour Party senators, who will help him to fight in the Senate to get his projects, his programs on course. Otherwise, he will have brilliant programs, but yet he will not be able to execute because the House will not approve. He will appoint ministers, he will run this government for months without the approval of ministers or the approval of even the budget. That is one big problem. So that's why I say the change is going to start in 2023. And again, one other point, sir, when we talk of the Bible, there's the permissive will of God and that the real ultimate will of God. When people refuse to go along the will of God, he will give them his permissive will. And that's how Saul became the king. When the real person, David, the time has not come. And that was what led to our dear brother quoting the other area where God said, look, they have not rejected me. They have not rejected you, but it is me. Because Saul was a permissive will. He allowed their will. And that is what is happening in the country today. Now I go to a question of discipline. The military today, the remunerations we give to and the respect we give to some we say vagabonds in power, or one minister said it is he described them as the principalities and powers in Abuja. Yes, when we see the remunerations being given to people holding public offices, the military, which is another party, unregistered party by the side that hold power, that can do anything at any time, they see a general serving for 35 years, how much are his remunerations, and see how much these people who just come to be a governor in Lagos State for 8 years, earning millions every year, every month, then he will now go and be a senator, earning another set of millions with cars and houses everywhere. He's a human being. He's thinking, he's seeing, and you are giving him orders. And that's why we have the ASU strike. How much are you giving a professor? And yet everybody wants to be a VC. And that's why they want to become, what do we call it? They want to become resident electoral officers to make more money, because how much is their salary? Professor for 35 years, somebody come with, farmer will just come, get the votes, and will be giving orders, and will be earning millions. For God's sake, the Bible says money answereth all things. Yes, I was sick. I went to UK, and I ended up just ordinary medical checkup. My wife ended up with a surgery, tumor. Meanwhile, he's been given antibiotics in the hospital in Nigeria. The same thing with me, they will have changed 3 discs on my neck until I got to Dubai. And then it was discovered that it was something on my shoulder. So you can now see, because in the university today, like somebody wrote, the first class that should have graduated to become lecturers will not get the remunerations that will make them to stay, to encourage them. The good experienced doctors that should stay and improve this country will not get the right remunerations, will not get the equipment to work. And one governor, you go to Ogun State right now, at the secretariat, you see equipment, medical equipment brought into this country by a set of people and one governor that has rotted away, abandoned there. I happened to fly Obasanjo for many years. That's a president I respect a lot, because we inspect all the projects. We are always flying helicopters, taking him inspecting projects. At least 2 weekends in a month, we are inspecting projects. We have about 13 power projects we inspected. Immediately he left office. What happened to all those power projects? Then we are saying there's no electricity. Somebody started it. Somebody is supposed to continue. But that is what we have. So before we can really have, we now have to look at it. It is beyond just having a president, because the president will become handicapped. The House will not allow him to operate. So when we have this revolution this time, and it's only revolution, it's either a military revolution or a civilian revolution. We have a civilian revolution in place now because the youth are waking up, and somebody needs to finance them and make sure that what they have started now, it will not end. Yes, we will not have the reps. Yes, we will not have the senators to make this revolution a success, but it will have to start from somewhere. And that's what I say to you, sir. That's my own point of view with what is going on right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. That's a very, very beautiful contribution. I mean, I think you made some very vital points, you know, which are germane. And there are things we need to look at. You're speaking about the civilian revolution that is ongoing now. So if we can...
The generals of today are not ready to do anything. They see the politicians, what they are doing. And you say the generals should use the money given to him to buy weapons, to buy ammunition. They won't. Everybody is speaking. Consider the salary of a general, sir, and go and look at the houses they are living in Abuja. Even retired generals, look at the houses. And that's why before it has never been done, that the military will be stealing millions. The police, money meant for uniform, will pocket it, even locking some inside freezer, inside his office. That's the impunity. It is because we see what the politicians are doing, and we are all living, we are going to the same market. No civil servant today is living according to his means. How do we go according? I read the book about Okonjo-Iweala. How do we now go against the corruption? You should be ready to lay down your life if you want to do it. And that's the way it is. Because even nobody, how many people are sending their children to private, to public schools? It's everybody, the same public universities. Because the standard is extremely low, and the politician will tell you, no, the standard is high. It is all a lie. Now prices of everything is going up. The time bomb now is the fuel subsidy, where the highest percentage, 70 or whatever percentage of our money, goes in paying debt. We are not even paying the debt, just recycling. So you cannot imagine, where will the incoming president have the fund to now change things?
All right, sir. I think you've made quite a lot of points. And I would like us to skew the discussion in terms of solutions and what agenda should we be setting for those seeking office. How can we ensure that they necessarily do what we want them to do and not what they want to do? Because, I mean, we all know what the issues are. And I appreciate that to get the solution, you may want to highlight the problems a bit. But let's be more solution focused. And what can we do as Nigerians to hold those seeking office responsible and accountable for what we think they should do to move the country forward? Thank you very much, Mr. Alex Ajibade. I'm guessing that you were in the military or you were just a pilot flying Obasanjo, but that's fair. I will take the next comment from Josimil Ogbe, and then we'll have Olukayode Walter, and then we'll have Zegbiri Tunde Akpolekun. I think Samuel Dada wants to speak again, but Akinmo.
Yeah, if we can have Dr. Akin go after Tunde.
Yeah. So let's have Joe first. Joe Ogbe. Unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm always overwhelmed to be part of this meeting. I've been following for quite some time now. Pastor Ituah can remember a couple of years ago, I invited him to talk to my young people. I run a youth ministry, and I've been in the trenches of youth work for over 30 years now. I am seriously bothered about the 2023 general election. Yes, young people are on the streets doing marchings and all that. And I can tell you that majority of them don't even have, what do you call it, PVC to even talk of voting. The solution that I believe we can salvage, that we can engage to salvage some of these challenges that we have, is that we should go back to the basics. Let churches go raise a new crop of young people that will begin to think Nigeria and see Nigeria can be better. If we all get involved in deliberate and conscientious grooming of the successor generation, I do believe that Nigeria can get it right. Yes, someone said that, oh, what about the Obi? If we succeed, what about the members of House of Representatives and Senate and what have you? Yes, the truth of the matter is that if we get the president right, it will trickle down. It will definitely trickle down. So our prayer should be that we get it right from the top, whether we like it or not. Everything rises or falls on leadership. That's the truth. In every family, the leader is right. In every sector, in every business, if the leadership is right, I can tell you everybody is going to follow. This man tried it in Anambra. As he was not taking a bribe, hardly do you see some of his lieutenants stealing. You know, yes, some people are talking. I think it was Pastor Ituah that was talking about the regime of Buhari in 1983. But I beg to differ. Why? Because I was in the university in 1982, 83. He was the one that came to distort our feeding arrangement. He was the one that he came up with Esenko and all that. You know, his regime was really draconian. You know, if Nigerians, you know, that were up and doing that time, knowledgeable about politics and all that, I don't think they would have subscribed to his coming at all. You know, his antecedents were not good, you know. So let's pray that these old people, I'm talking about Tinubu and Atiku, they should not have a way this time around. That's my sincere prayer. And
Okay.
that's what I'm telling people who care to listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope we have a compare, Jumoke, that is taking note of all the various comments. At the end of the day, we'll just sort of get what the consensus is from everyone. So Kayode, Walter, go ahead and make your comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for letting me join in, and I'll reach out. I want to make a shout out to Miss Jumoke Akitelo, our engineer, Jumoke Akitelo. My name is Olukayode Walter Luwale. Thank you very much again. My background, mechanical engineering, cybersecurity, and data science. Now, I'm not going to tell you a story about what's bad or what's good in Nigeria. We know that. I don't believe this forum is for talking about stories. It's about having a solution to put on the table. So just to let other people know, the moderator has said it clearly. This is about talking about solution. What is the solution? I'm doing something right now with a couple of people in Nigeria, and here in the US, we have an organization that we call Community Wide. Community Wide does outreach to people in Nigeria. Food bank, we feed up over 500 people every week in Nigeria. Okay, we have about 350 students right now that we're training on IT, IT fundamentals, Python, And by January, first, second week in January, we're going to start doing artificial intelligence. So I'm done with talking about stories. I cannot stand Nigerians talking about stories. If you have a problem with it, let's fix it together. Let's get there and do something. This is not about you being the best storyteller out there. I invest in Nigeria. I invest in some very small gari making in Nigeria. Okay? It's not making money for me, but the people are not asking me for money back again. I invest in hot pepper packaging in Kaduna. It's not about people asking me for money, but it's for them to be independent and be able to do what they need to do. So enough about talking about history. Let's talk about a solution. I get really angry when I hear people talking about, stories. We all know what the problem is. Forget the government. What can you do? What are you doing today? What problem are you solving? Every one of us has relatives out there they can work with. Look, things are so bad, but we can do something ourselves. So that's what I just want to say today. I'm really angry that people cannot listen to the moderator. Don't come here and tell stories. Come out with solutions. It's as simple as that. If we can't do that,
that's the American in you.
Sorry?
Uncle K, I said that's the American in you. That's the American in you. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so if anybody wants to know about the program, it's free education, and I'll post it on the chat, and that's it. Thank you.
I will engage you more on how we can, work with you on that. Thank you so much. I'll send your contacts to Pastor Ulu Victor to follow up with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for those very, very passionate comments. And I share your sentiments and views that if everybody took a piece of the cake, a piece of the pie somehow, and solved a few problems here and there, created money, created wealth, and so on and so forth, at least we would have chipped in to changing something in Nigeria. So that's one solution that we will pen down. We'll write that down as getting as many people and as many groups as possible to find something meaningful that they can do to increase the productive ability, ease the poverty, increase the food sustainability, and help the people become better people. If we all did that, then there will be one way to make Nigeria great again. Thank you very, very much for those comments, okay? And we'll note them as things to go into the communique. Mr. Z Nagberi, please unmute yourself and let's hear what your comments are.
Yes, good morning, everyone from here, Minnesota. I love what everybody has said, all protocols observed. I like the fact that the last speaker talked about let's focus on the solution. I appreciate that. And that's the line I'm trying to present myself. As regards the problem with Nigeria, we all have to understand, according to a philosopher, John Acton, he said, when power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's the problem I think we have. Now, the solution is, what do we have as a principle of checks and balances from every level? I think that is something, those of us here in the diaspora, they know it exists. Nobody can hit their chest and go away with crime here, especially in the United States. If you're a congressman, even up to the president, the same happens in UK. Lately, every one of us saw that the president came out and apologized, and he was fine. Since I was born till now, I've not seen that happen in Nigeria or any of the African countries. That's on the government side. Now, on the individual side, I like the fact that somebody mentioned each of us have to try and contribute our own quota, because it's easy to point fingers. But like he has done his own, I can start saying mine too without boring people. I have a 50-bed hospital in Lagos right now. So I'm hiring people in Lagos. That is my own contribution. And my giving back is every child there will be treated for free. It will be launched by the end of this year. Then everybody will see it. Prior to that, I've been hiring people in Nigeria for packaging of products that I send from here to Nigeria and selling them, all right? But there are challenges that I'm facing, and I believe the last speaker too must have been facing those challenges. It's not to discourage people here, but it's for all of us to start talking to our governors. We shouldn't bother about going to the federal level. Let's figure a way for our states, individual states, to tackle the problems of security and the problem of lack of law and order from the aspect of the police. All right? If we have the police to help secure what the diasporans are coming to do, it will boost the morale of other diasporans that are sitting on the fence. All right? Because running a business in Nigeria as a whole is not easy. If you've never tried it, ask the last speaker. He must have passed through what I'm passing through. So I think part of our solution would be to find a way to secure the investments coming from the diasporans. Nigerians that are staying in Nigeria, they know how to figure their way out. But I can tell you clearly here that 50% of the diasporans that went back to Nigeria to invest are discouraged. But we're not going to give up. Like myself, I'm not giving up. Where I'm coming from now is a recycling plant. That's why I'm not dressed in tie or suit as I usually dress. I went to visit a recycling plant to carry a turnkey from Minnesota to Lagos and Bayelsa. All right? But again, it has to come down to us having the backup of the Diaspora Commission linked with our individual states. So that way, all the things that the people there that are thinking, okay, this person is from overseas, they have seen a movie, they will get a shocker when we have that strong backing. And then others will follow suit. To solve Nigeria problem, I don't think the government alone can solve Nigeria problem. It takes us in the diaspora to say, you know what? Whether I'm going to die, let me die. I'm going to give my own contribution. If we start having that mindset, Nigeria will change. That is my belief. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Z. That's a very, very encouraging, very, very encouraging comments from you. And my takeaway from that is that all Nigerians should get involved in playing their part, like we had heard earlier on, including and especially the diasporans should get involved in playing their part and doing something or the other to change Nigeria. But I think my biggest getaway from what you've said, or my biggest takeaway from what you said, is that we should also speak to the state security agencies, especially the police and through the governor, to make sure that they can create a safe and secure environment for people who want to invest or do one activity or the other, especially diasporans. So I think we can document that one also as one of our key points in putting our communicate together, putting pressure on our governments or encouraging our governments or working with the governments to ensure that they can create a safe environment for Nigerians to invest in. Okay, can we go quickly to Mr. Akpelogun? Mr. Akpelogun, please.
Thank you, Reverend Ituah. Thank you, Reverend Ituah. I came very late. I think I came about 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, and I saw Mr. Ajibade was the speaker then. But what I heard really shocks me when he said, we need a revolution, either military or civilian revolution. I don't expect anybody in their right mind to talk about military revolution. Militaries are not trained to run a country. They are trained to kill people. That is why we have a lot of the military now joining the Boko Haram, joining the insurgency, joining the bandits, because they are not trained to run anything. So anybody in their right senses who had witnessed the military government of the past will
Hello,
know
sir.
that.
Hello, sir.
Let
Hello,
me
sir.
finish. Yeah.
Yeah, just a minute. He didn't advocate military revolution. He made reference so that you don't go on that trajectory. He said what we need rightfully is a revolution. Right now, we're having a civilian revolution, and that's what he spoke more about. He said it's either a military revolution or a civilian revolution. But so he didn't. So those discounting that line.
Don't stress that, and then also the
Sonny.
issue of somebody being in their right mind or not. I don't think that's
okay, Sonny. Okay,
that's not a very kind
okay, Reverend Ituah.
Please. Let's not turn this into an argument. Just say what you agree with, what you disagree with, and what you suggest.
No, I've got nothing to contribute other than say the fact that he mentioned military or civilian. Military is never an option. Never must anybody allow military to come into ruling Nigeria or any part of Nigeria again. Thank you.
The point is noted. The point is noted. But you also know that even though some military people are not trained, but there have been some military interventions in the past that have succeeded. Gaddafi was a military man, and I think he did well for his country. Thomas Sankara was a military man. I think he did well for his country. Even our friends in Ghana, Rawlings, although I hear that all that they say about Rawlings is not quite as rosy as it sounds, but the impression we have out here is that Rawlings brought some kind of discipline and sanity into Nigeria, into Ghana. But it's okay. I also share your sentiment that ab initio military were not trained to rule. But some people have also said if you have somebody moved their mics. If you had a benevolent dictator of some sort, and indeed, this gentleman in Singapore was not military, but he was like a benevolent, almost a dictator of some sort that turned Singapore around, even under a political class. He ruled for almost 30-something years, almost 40 years, and was able to give Singapore stability. Also in our neighbor here, our friends here, Dubai, what you have is a great king who is doing great things for his people and driving things in a particular way. So I think we're still talking about quality of leadership. Quality of leadership. Why do we get the quality of leadership? And Mr. Ajibade also said that Obasanjo was one of the best leaders Nigeria has ever had that he worked with, and he had a military background. And even as a soldier, he did quite well in the first time. The only problem I have is that he allowed the North to pressure him into quickly handing over power to Shehu Shagari. But he did quite well that first time. And then the second time around, extremely hardworking. Like Ajibade said, visited everywhere, very passionate about Nigeria, woke up early, did everything he could do to put Nigeria together again. He allowed Northern pressure to hand over to Yaradua. But here we are. This is where we're. Samuel, Dada, I think you've spoken. Let us look for somebody who hasn't spoken yet, so that you can come up.
Dr. Aki Awofo-Laju is next.
All right.
We see you, Reverend Femi. You can put down your hand. You will be called in due course, sir.
Put down. No, don't let them put down any hand.
No, he's raising his hand physically. I'm not saying.
Let him raise his hand electronically.
I can. Okay, he's raising his hand physically, but I can see.
No. If he can raise his hands electronically, then he will be on follow. Okay. But if he cannot, and you have noted his physical raise of hand, please remind us to call him at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Aki, I will follow you, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I thank the organizer of this program, especially Dr. Ituah and my dear sister engineer, Jumoke Akintelo. We've
Thank
gone
you for the
way back.
doctorate that you just gave me. I'm most grateful.
Yeah. Mine is very simple. As Ms. Jumoke Telo would know, we've been on this crisis as far back as 30, 40 years. I happen to be, currently I'm a leader of a Yoruba group in diaspora, and our main thing is intelligence and networking. And what am I saying? And then I've served as a leader in Nigeria in diaspora organization in the late, about 10, 15 years ago. Every year we go to Abuja, we have Diaspora Day. At the end of that, in the process, we have a lot of series of programs to bring government to reality as to what we expect them to do. In the process too, we do bring some investors from abroad, from France, from America, from England, all over the world where we are as a group. But one thing occurred to me that, I mean, people are talking about the problem. We all know our problem, as somebody already emphasized. But most of us don't know our history, where we came from. I mean, when we look at our founding father, the concept of Nigeria, how they want it to look like. And one will argue that then the population was not this of this magnitude. So they probably didn't see that there will be a point where Nigeria will be more than what their process could endure. So we're looking at start from 3 regions, major region to 12 states to 36 states now, with 260 million. So something occurred to us in our group, and we said that since the social contract has been broken between the governance and the ruled, and what is it that most important thing we can do at this juncture? I've invested in Nigeria a lot of money and I lost everything. It's not because I don't have my know-how. I work in World Bank for 5 years, served in the Singapore and Malaysia for World Bank as a representative there before I came to America. So I'm in neuroeconomics from my background, which is applied economics combined with social behavior and poverty analysis. So thinking that, we can, it's not that Nigerians lack of expertise in some area, what we need to do. And some of us have done that. Ms. Jumoke Telo will tell you about this. It's not about idea. It's about when you look at the critical mass, they are not connected with people like us that are of a mind that, okay, let's put a process in place. If you look at what is going on right now in Nigeria, every political party when they turn on their campaign, wherever you see heads line up to watch them, to clap for them, it's because of an awareness. So there's something that very, very fundamental that we need to look into, and it's going to take time. I remember one of the meeting we had when we were talking about within Yoruba thing that there's something we call Omoluabi. Omoluabi as a function of demonstrating the inherent features and value of Iwapele. And according to Baba Wande, Professor Wande Abimbola, he did mention that Iwapele is a good or gentle character of an individual in our Yoruba culture. How do you attribute Omoluabi to a moral conduct demonstrated by somebody who knows that if I did something wrong, it's not just about me anymore. My family, my children will pay for it. And then part of Omoluabi is Teriba, which is respect. And Inurere, having good mind to others. And Otito, the truth. If you go to a vulcanizer in Nigeria now that you have your car, say you have a flat tire. If your car is Volkswagen and the other man's car is Mercedes-Benz and you are using the same tire, he's going to charge you differently, irrespective of the time he's going to spend on each tire. So there's no trust, there is no respect and there's no hard work is nothing, because you will see the Yahoo boy, they don't have to leave their bedroom or wherever to make millions of dollars. And then the Okpolo Pipe intelligence, it's not even, you can see today that people from abroad, I mean, I'm talking about big company like Google's and Facebook, they are now coming down, spending billions of dollars. Especially, I facilitated one of the program in Lagos that they are picking our talent, young boys. They catch them when they are young, 18 to 25. They put them in a small pub in Lagos, and they're doing phenomenal things in terms of turning the program that you cannot even imagine coming out of Nigeria. They don't have to leave the Lagos to do all this thing. So we don't want to talk about the problem like somebody already talked earlier, but there's a lot of solution. But we have to look at the low-hanging fruit, the youth. Our youth, how we can inculcate and build a social contract that will empower them to believe that there's so much in them if we really process them correctly and put them in the right place where they belong, rather than to just see this white-collar job in political arena, which is not going to be long-lived. Because what happened to average youth in Nigeria now is that just join the party in power, APC, or if it's tomorrow is PDP, join PDP and try to be a special assistant to a governor, and then you don't have to even go for furthering your education anywhere. So how do we change that mindset is critical. And we believe the only way to do that is to strengthen our culture. It doesn't have to be the Yoruba culture in Edo State, but let them find some common language among their people, which they can use to transcend this mindset. And by doing that, everybody will come to normalcy that we used to have back in 60s or 70, even 70 was great, even early 80, we still have it. But today it's all gone because there's no structure. The moment we all depend on the government, that government has to do everything. And the moment the government see that the society is so weak that they can now pressure on them and take advantage of them. The moment we start having our army barrack every Friday, every malam in the north, we go there to go and pray. They don't go to the Al Mosque anymore. And open our security apparatus to, low-hanging problem. People get to know how the army operates. They get to palm their hand with little money. And when something happens in Ado-Ekiti, Fulani, wherever, they run to the closest army barrack and they open the door for them and they enter. The moment they enter, nobody's going to hear anything about it anymore. So why I'm saying this is that we have the vast majority, even in the north, that they are not part of all this thing, but they are not highly educated or they are not aware of the problem, but they have been brainwashed with religion's perspective and say, oh, the people just in the other side, they just don't like us because of our religion. And that is not true. So
Uncle Aki, if I may just jump in for a second there. So what are the two takeaways? Thank you for that. I mean, it's brilliant. You and I can go on and on about this. But in terms of give us two actionable items based on what you have just said, what they're doing with the youth. And I know you're very passionate about youth and culture. But what are some of two things that we can take away to say, going forward, we as Nigerians, this will contribute to setting the right agenda for Nigeria? If we can just have those two so that we can take other people that have their hands up, if you don't mind.
We have to find a way to strengthen our culture at the grassroots level. And by doing that, we can now look into youth empowerment. It doesn't have to, our youth, they are very eager to know and they are very, very intelligent. What I'm saying is that think about what we are talking about Google and Facebook doing in Lagos. And these are and they have this raw talent, but they don't have anybody to give them the tools to develop them. So I'm saying we, the learners, have to find a way to rebuild the social contract with those youths and build that trust in them that I can turn you around. It doesn't have to be, and that's why I mentioned Omoluabi culture, the behavior of real virtues and values in our, because you have to catch them when they are young. You know, when they get to 45, 35, you already lost them. So, and my main thing take away from here is how do we find way to strengthen the culture among our youth and change their mindset? And it has to start with the structure. It has to be structure. It doesn't have to be a scatter suit approach. So the structure start with, and it doesn't have to be particularly of Omoluabi phenomenon that we created in Yoruba that we are building on now. The adult who can find something within their own spheres and that can work with them. The houses can find the same thing because the Nigeria is too big. And to say it's too big to fail or not to fail, it depends on which kind of structure we have on the ground to support our views and values.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jackie. Jumoke, you wanted to say something?
No, I wanted to tell him that we'll engage him because we have a group that is working on social contracts. So now that he's working on that as well, we'll engage him so that he can work with our group on doing that.
All right. So I think his takeaway really is that we should find groups to come together to see how we can engage the youth and develop the grassroots and strengthen the culture and enlighten the people. A lot of our people are very, very ignorant, vastly ignorant. They don't even know good government from bad government and so on and so forth. So that's another takeaway. And then we need to then find who will champion or mobilize and talk to different groups to try and do this. Okay. Kofo Koka, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to thank the organizers for doing a wonderful job. You're already being part of the solution in raising people's consciousness and disseminating information using this forum. My contribution today is first, I'd like us to really expand our idea of leadership. I know we've spent quite some time on political leadership, and it is very important, but there's also leadership in our social institutions, be it our religious institutions, our families, our socio-cultural organizations, our alumni organizations, and there's also leadership in the economic sector. People work in banks, leadership in that organization also, that we can expand it to all areas of our society. Because all these are important. I remember, growing up in secondary schools, there was opportunity for leadership. Some people were prefects, some people were class monitors. So we need to look at all those areas of leadership and begin to encourage people to groom young people continuously for leadership positions. So my suggestions for all those areas today are: one, to encourage people to give their time, their talent, and treasure. Some of the speakers today have given their all three. Some people can give money, invest money in businesses. Some people are architects, they can help to redesign their schools. Some people just have the time. You may not have the money. People should join their school alumni, whether it's high school or university, and serve. If you cannot give money, be a recorder, be a secretary, be whatever they need. People should also serve in their religious institutions. I remember 2 years ago, there are two churches in Ibadan, because I go to Ibadan often, in Bodija area. Every Sunday, they come out and fix the potholes on the local street. There's also another church I attended. One Sunday a month, there's no sermon. They talk about social consciousness issues, how people who are in the church who need jobs can use whatever they have to empower themselves while they're waiting to get that job. Also in our families, we also need leadership. There are families who have WhatsApp groups, who have family meetings, who have become a sort of welfare system for other family members. Somebody is sick in the hospital, they raise funds to help. So if people have such family reunions or family organization, please join. Again, don't just join, volunteer to serve. You can give your time, you can give your talent or treasure. If you can give all three, it's even wonderful. People who have jobs, they work in a bank, they work in a civil service, they work in a hospital. Please mentor somebody who's new in your place of work. That's part of leadership. So one of the speakers said earlier that we're all responsible people who need to partake in Nigerian leadership, and those are just my suggestions for expanding our zones of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And I think my takeaway from that is that you are asking that we, number one, do a class action, wherein everyone tries to play one part or the other in turning things around. And you gave the examples of the churches and so on and so forth that are doing something. So to engage people and mobilize people for some kind of class action in all areas of leadership, I think that's number one. Number two is also to continue to train and retrain our people, especially the youth and the younger ones, to be leaders of conscience, to be good leaders, great leaders, outstanding leaders, and so on and so forth. So we need to take up that responsibility. And I think we will do that. One thing you didn't quite say that I also picked out from what you were saying is that there was a need for orientation or reorientation. So I'm going to be asking Jumoke and Sonny and Olu Victor and those in the backroom office that might be one of our action points. Okay, how do we start a movement of orientating and reorientating Nigerians? There is an organization to do that, run by government, but I don't think they're doing what they're supposed to do. You know, educating the people en masse. Talking to them, encouraging them, opening their eyes, and motivating them to do the right thing at the right time. I think that will go a long way. It's the same way we're all mobilized in the time of COVID. You know, we all knew what COVID was, what danger it portended, and everybody was reasonably obedient to what government had to say. Okay, that sort of movement again with a loud voice, telling people right from wrong, good from bad, and things like that might also work. So maybe we should look at how we can do that. I'm going to take Esohe, okay? And after Esohe, I will then suggest that Samuel Dada can come back with his quick comments before we go to Reverend Ashiwaju and Toib Awe, and then we go further down the line that way. Thank you. Connie,
Thank you.
Please carry on.
Yeah, thank you very much, and a good evening to everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
So I want to thank all of you for the wonderful work you've been doing. I'm following you up. I'm sorry I cannot be as present as I would like to. Just a few things so that I don't take up too much time that I just want to touch on. And a lot of that, some of the previous speakers had already touched on it and mentioned. The question of having some concrete issues on which we can work. Now, Nigeria is a country where we have a huge base of talent that is just waiting to be brought up, that is waiting to be structured. What we are, as a personal experience, what we are working on, for instance, right now, as an example, is that we are working with some select members of the National Assembly, because the question of leadership is not just that government alone can resolve Nigeria's issues. It's a question of from the top and then from the bottom. We working from the bottom as civil society and the government, and also pushing the government and ensuring that the government is responding to what they should be responding. So the work we are trying to do, for instance, is we are working with a select group of members of the National Assembly to propose to them questions. For instance, we work on women's rights, violence against women, and trafficking. So we are proposing specific laws, specific policies that we would like them to introduce into Nigerian law. This is one way. I mean, it's not only in that area, but if you think of all the other areas, because sometimes it's also that paucity of ideas that makes it that some of our leaders don't really know how to react. That's one thing. Then the question of investment in youth. There was a program, because one thing we've noticed working in Nigeria is that there is that lack of cultural values now in Nigeria. It never used to be like that. When I was a child, there were certain things you knew in your culture, in your tradition, that you couldn't do. But now a lot of young people don't know this. Now, there was a program that I was leading in Nigeria. I was in Nigeria for 15 months from 2019 to 2020. And the idea we came out with was, why don't we start a kind of TV program? I know this is investment intensive, starting a TV program where using drama, and Nigerians like that kind of intervention. Using drama, you begin to talk about social issues and to introduce that kind of change. And so the question of also working with the film industry, Nollywood is one of the biggest film industries in the world. And I'm sure that if we look at, we can find members, directors, film directors and actors and others within the film industry with whom we can work to introduce a program that Nigerians can look at, and from there pass on messages with regards to cultural values, to what is good. Also, question of education on political savviness, knowing what it is to have a leader, knowing what you should expect from your leader. And it's not the question of somebody coming to tell you, vote for me and I will give you a bag of rice, letting them understand that that will not solve the issues. So those are some of the ideas that I wanted to share, to say that apart from the question of investment with regards to development, because it's the private sector that can help to develop Nigeria, not just the public sector doing it, but the private sector bringing in the investment, while on government level working with members of the National Assembly to ensure that that level, that security, that presence of things that we need, the structures we need to develop the country are there. So the two working together, that is one way that we can begin to solve Nigeria's problems. So I wanted to, and then there was something I wanted to quickly comment on. Someone spoke about military revolutions and all. The military came, we've discovered with hindsight that it wasn't really that such a good idea. But I must say that in Edo State, the former Bendel State, if we remember, those who were from Edo State, when the military governor, Ogbemudia, was governor, the kind of development he was able to bring to the state, where he left it, that's where it is up to today, except for the brief intervention of this other military, this other governor, not military governor.
Bruce Ali.
Bruce Ali also did his own part, and then this last, the penultimate governor. So these are some of the issues that I just wanted to quickly touch on before I go away there. I think I'll stop there so that we give space to someone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate you. Mr. Dada.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Well, we need to focus on solution. I think on Dick's page, have been here for the past 1 year, and we'll be talking about solutions. Pastor, I would love to know if this group has a preferred candidate that has ideology that drives the purpose of this group. Because if we are not working in this direction, I think it's an equivalent tax. I won't lie to you. because most of these people are people that we say they are ignorant, they don't know anything. I will tell you, most of the electorate in Nigeria, they don't have access to Netflix. They can't watch films or programs that will educate them. They are after how they get their daily bread, what sort of lives. The millions of people that vote for president in Nigeria since 1999 to last election were within 11 million to 15 million. And Pastor, I want to tell you, the 80% of those people, they don't have access to all these things we are doing here. So how do you think you want to make impact in those people's life? So the best thing is for us to have a candidate of our choice that has the same driven purpose, so that we'll be able to lay down, okay, when you get to power, what are those things that we start from? And I want to say here, if Nigeria is not being digitalized, we are going nowhere. When somebody was mentioning Obasanjo, I have issues with Baba Obasanjo. If I have opportunity of meeting him today, I will say, Baba, what stopped you, sir, from giving us a database in 1999 when we bring in the GSM into our system? Because Ghana were using it a year before us. And all these countries, if you go to Senegal now, they have the identity card on a digital level. What stops Nigeria having an identity card where we take the fingerprints of everybody that comes into the country? Anybody that goes into the bank, we have to present that. They will take it from their local government. These are the things that help us to know who is having 10 accounts, different companies, where we can't, transactions have been made, we don't know them. These things are very easy. We are crying of insecurity in the country. People are using rifles and everywhere. I think when we have all these things in our data, in our biometric system, we'll be able to know who is who with their fingerprints, with their eyeballs. All these things are there. We have Nigerians that are very good in computer, in data analysis and every other thing. All these things are not rocket science. It's just for them to have a stable electricity. I entered through Michigan to Windsor. I drove with my friend 40 kilometers. I was seeing the wind energy. I said, what? You see, a lot of things we can do in Nigeria. We have the solar energy, we have everything. Sir, if we are not creating a group that we build people with ideology, that anybody that is coming, they will have a focus that, okay, this group is on a particular candidate for the next election. We are going nowhere, because these guys, we emerge. Anybody we emerge as president of Nigeria in 2023, they will just tell you, by the time you started pressurizing them, they will tell you that you never support them. That is why you see the likes of some people that have been in governor, who are the people they use Agberu. And the Agberu is now attending us what, where we have professors and people that are intellectuals in the country. The Agberu is leading the 5 million man march in the country, where we have well-read people. This is the problem. So I'm saying that we should have a driving purpose of a candidate that we want to, like, you are going there. This is the agenda. This is what our group is saying. And we'll be able to mobilize people, younger generation, intellectuals that are not involving, because I want to tell you, when election comes now, people that are well-bred, they will travel out of the country. They won't want to face the brouhaha or the chaotics of election. It is only the people that we believe they have not, that will go into election. And it has been for donkey years. Even people are crying now. People will go into elections, so people are saying that they're having the electoral system through electronic mix. All those ones is not enough, because they will give them the numbers, they put it in the
thank you, Samuel. Thank you so much. I think my takeaway from what you are saying is that we should have a candidate that we support on this group. Right now, what we want to do is to go through a scientific process of arriving at that candidate. And that's why we're having the presidential candidate scoreboard, okay, wherein we can actually score the 16 people who are on the floor right now. And then based on the scoring, we can then say that, well, if everybody on this platform participates on that scoring, if we can average out the scores for all of them, then we can say, well, from the results of the scientific exercise that we have done, this is probably the candidates we think people on the platform prefer, because they have scored that candidate and not just taking a sentimental, as it were, decision, and so on and so forth. So maybe if we can go through that exercise, Jumoke, correct me if I'm wrong, we can then arrive at something or the other.
We are actually ironing out some kinks from the software, so we'll be ready next week. We try to do it today. There's just 1 or 2 glitches that we need to fix, so we are not quite ready to take that today.
I know. What I'm saying is that is there a process we can adopt on this platform in terms of recommending candidature, or should we not go in that direction?
That's a tricky one. I think that's called the, using those criterias that is on the scorecard would just be, it kind of shows why we've arrived at a candidate, if that's what we decide to do, and everyone can see the process that we went through. And I think that's part of what we're also trying to get Nigerians to look at, that we don't vote emotionally, we don't vote along ethnic lines, but based on on certain criteria and these different categories that the candidates exhibit. So maybe we can, if you want me to pull up that, the criteria that we put together, I can do that. Do you want me to pull that up?
Maybe before the program ends, you can do that. And then we will launch the scoreboard, and then people will then be free to score the candidates. And maybe what we want to then do is to have a back end where we can collate all the scoring results of some sort, and maybe make some kind of announcement, non-binding or non-whatever announcement, that this is the outcomes of what people scored and blah, 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 the candidates. And at least that will give us a sense of direction on this platform. Is that doable?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Reverend Femi Ashaju, please.
Well, thank you very much. I hope I'm being heard.
We can hear you.
Oh, very good, very good. Let me start by thanking Pastor Ituah for all you have been doing. This is my first time of joining this group. You have been doing so much, and I must say, I know you will not remember me, but I know you very well. You have done so much that if others like us have been able to come out to do all that you have been doing, that will have been a clear direction. And that's where I want to start from. We must take a position. There must be a position. It's better to take a position and take a wrong one than not to take a position at all. The situation in the country is really terrible and bad. And forget about whether we are in the church or we are not in the church. You don't have to be a pastor to know what is bad. What is bad is bad. It doesn't have any other meaning. It's bad. Now, the issue is this. I want to thank all the diaspora brothers who have spoken for all they are doing from there. We really appreciate your kindness. We appreciate your gestures. Those are ways to go. But the bottom line is this: leadership. There is no country, point to one country that has broken through, that has succeeded, that you cannot point to a very good leader, a promising leader. Mention it. Pastor Ituah was mentioning Dubai, was mentioning Singapore, mentioned Ghana here, and there is none. There will always be a leader that was towering at that particular time. Why was Western region, the old Western region, towering above the whole country? I read a paper that said, projected that by a certain number of years, the southwestern part of Nigeria will move up to the level that we have the Koreans, the Indians today. But we are not there because something happened to the leadership. It was leadership. It was one man. It has always been one man. Even if we go biblical, God will not allow the wrong ones to stay long. He allowed Saul because people clamored for Saul. But when Saul was not, he removed him. Even God. And this is the trend we should follow. We are deceiving ourselves by saying we must take a position.
Can you wrap up, sir, so that we can?
Yes, sir. We must. What I'm saying in essence is that as the system you want to use to come up with somebody, let's do it quickly.
Okay.
And there has to be a position. That's right. We have to take a position. There's no sentiments about it. There's no tribal thing about it. There's no religion about it. If we fail again now, like we failed in 2015, we can say bye-bye to Nigeria. God forbid. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, Toibawe. Tohib, unmute yourself and make your contribution. Please just take as little time as possible. Maybe 1 minute, because we have quite a lot of people, so we can go around.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Like everyone has said, I believe we all know, most of us know the problems of Nigeria, so it's not a period to talk about problems, but rather about solutions. So basically, I'm going to quickly look at low-hanging fruits, then those that we can look at in midterm and then long term. Low-hanging, first, I would say we're in the political era. We have general elections coming in February. So at this point, we really must be critical as to who we have as leaders. That also tells me that, first, I don't think this group should look at the angle of choosing a particular candidate in terms of a party, because then it can be tagged as this group is a Labour Party group or an APC group, meaning that tomorrow, if that party does not win, the entire group has practically lost out. Rather, I would say that everybody should get involved. This is a period that we all must get involved. It is beyond getting your PVC. The day of just getting PVC is over. You must get involved in terms of, if possible, joining a political party. We all saw what happened in the primaries. For those that did not get involved in the primaries, it means that you have candidates that you were not even involved in the process of throwing up those candidates. So if at the end of the day, the candidate is not who is best interest for us, you were not involved in choosing that candidate. So everybody should get involved with a party. The first question I would ask is, how many of us, even where you are voting, do you know who your councillor is? Not to now talk of even your chairman. In terms of where you are from, in terms of where you live. A lot of us most likely live in Lagos or even in the diaspora, but back home, who are the people that are running the affairs of the politics in your home? We need to get involved. If we're not there, then we need to reach out to the people that are there to make sure that those people do the right thing. So definitely politics right now, I think everybody needs to get involved, whether it is diaspora, whether it is people in Lagos, you must get involved. If you can join a party, join a party. Whatever it is that is your conviction, run with it. I'm not saying choose Labour, choose APC, choose PDP. The good thing is, honestly, the three front-runner parties that I see, the three front-runner candidates between APC, LP, and PDP are people that I believe, whichever one of them wins, can do well for this country compared to where we are today as a nation. Now, the second thing I would look at is we're faced with a huge inflation problem.
Okay, so
now that inflation problem, when I started to shout about it, we're
you have to be
about 60%. Today we are 21%. What really is driving this inflation? Mainly increase in food prices as well as FX devaluation. What is driving this FX devaluation mainly is the supply side. We do not have enough in terms of earning in foreign exchange. We're spending the highest amount that we spend in foreign exchange presently is in importation of petroleum products because our refineries are moribund. How do we ensure that whichever government comes in next quickly privatizes those refineries or concessions them out, so that we need to stop this fuel subsidy thing and then we can save foreign exchange. Secondly, how do we earn more in terms of foreign exchange? Because this government has practically concerned itself with the demand size in putting goods on restriction list, banning goods, and not allowing you access FX, and then we don't even have enough steel. We must address the supply side. That supply side is we need to start to look at our exports. We have some regulations that do not support exports. For example, Obasanjo came in and liberalized the sale of export proceeds. I cannot export goods and then you tell me I must sell to the bank today at 440. And I am competing with a Chinese or a Vietnamese who comes into this country with his dollars in his briefcase, sells at black market at 750, and we go to the same farm gates to buy produce to export, it means I am not competitive. The banks are not even supporting us as exporters. Now, if we say we're not even processing, we're still exporting raw goods, for example, cashew. We have a bill that says that we cannot import goods that we produce locally here. So you have companies like Starlink Global and Majaro, who are about the largest indigenous exporters in Nigeria. But guess what? For them to produce or process cashew in Nigeria, you cannot import cashew nuts. But cashew is a seasonal good, which we would only produce within a 4 months period. So that legislature has to be looked at. That is why I say we must get involved. Support your candidates, whether it is in the House of Assembly, House of Rep, Presidency, support your candidates. Let them know you so that when they get there and you need a bill to be passed, you need something to be done for the people, they would owe you. But now, if these people that are there, if they have gotten in there only because of forefathers, they would only be answerable to the forefathers. He who pays the piper, he's the one that will dictate the tune. It's why I say we must all get involved. Diasporans, there is no country that has developed without the people in diaspora. Even in the Bible, the Israelis, if you look at Joseph was diaspora. In time of famine, he was the one that saved his people from Egypt while he was prime minister. We need the people in diaspora to also invest in Nigeria. They need to do huge investments here. India, the largest import of foreign exchange in India is the Indians in diaspora because of their remittances.
Mr. Aware, it's okay. If you will take over. I know you are very passionate about this thing, but let's we really get your contribution, and we really thank you for that. I think we get the point. Let's let other people contribute, and we'll take it from there. So we will have Oluwaye Mrs. Susan, and then Ifeanyi Nwakwesi Temitope in that order. Go ahead, Oluwaye Mrs.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. There are lots of youths out there that have very brilliant ideas. And if it's been thrown into the public just because they are in the category of the people that are not being heard, or they are not of influential family, the ideas are swept under the carpet. Now, these ideas that are swept under the carpet, like someone that came up with the idea of a gasless automobile, and this young guy threw it open and it was swept under the carpet. The Chinese people picked it up, took this guy to China, and is currently working with the automobile company. So now with this, you have the idea, you don't know who to go to. How do you encourage youths like that? Who do they go to that their voice will be heard? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluwaye Mrs. The question is well noted. The youths, how do we encourage them? Where do they go to? I'm sure we'll have an answer for you before the program is over. Ifeanyi Nwakwesi, thank you very much, Ma. Please keep it short and brief so we can take everybody. Thank you, Ma. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Pastor Ituah, it's nice to see you today again. My conversation is on the platform of Women Aligned for Growth. I happen to be the executive chair of Women Aligned for Growth, a character rebuilding, social change and impact female NGO. What is my conversation? Our challenge in Nigeria is poor leadership, poor quality of elites, poor quality of youth, and poverty in the land. Now, we are all very aware that we have poor leadership in the society. Many of us are complaining about it. Many of us exchange messages on the insecurity situations, all the vices in the land. But the elites of this country are not equipped with the mindset to desire and commit to a change. I speak to a lot of my colleagues, and I see that many of them are still in the area of whoever emerges as a leader is my leader. What contract can I get? What post can I get? They are not driven by love for country, love for millions of Nigerians that are suffering from poverty and hunger, love for millions of Nigerians that are dying every day from chronic preventable diseases. Then our youth, some of them are actually doing well right now. That's the youth have actually gotten up and said, we're going to take our destiny back, especially as the elites have failed us. For the lower cadre of people in Nigeria, they are poor, they are hungry, so they're looking for money. What's my conversation? My conversation, as Pastor Ituah Ighodalo said, we need to start mindset reprogramming of everyone in the society. The churches and the mosque are a veritable platform to teach people how to become passionate and impactful, how not to focus on illegal means of wealth, and to realize that money does not give you inner satisfaction. We need men and women of character, men and women that can make a choice and stand by their choices, not because they want to be with a leader that will win. I actually dislike such people. We want men and women that can choose for love of country, not for love of what they can get, selfish interest. Tribalism and religion is no longer relevant today, and Nigerian society is in decadence. If we are honest with each other, we must all come together, talk to the presidential candidates, and make a choice of the person we believe can deliver us from the decadence. This is not a question of standing back and watching and saying nothing. I don't accept what the guy said that everybody is a leader. All of them are not leaders. We know the ones that are very capable. We should be able to make a choice in this platform in collaboration with other platforms. Women Aligned for Growth has actually put together our credible leadership qualities. And if we pick that person that has those credible leadership qualities, Nigeria would see a change. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ifeanyi Nwakwesi. Very pungent. We are taking all views into account, and we will make our position known. I will take Temitope. Thank you very much. Temitope, be brief, go straight to the point so that we can take other people.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to appreciate everyone, leadership on this platform, Pastor Ituah. It's always been an enlightening time. And I more than anything, it's about the fact that it's opening our minds to think differently and to think for ourselves about what is right. So what I want to talk about basically is about love and truth, which appears very basic. But some of the problems we have in Nigeria stem from the fact that 1, we don't love ourselves, 2, we don't love our neighbors, 3, we don't love our country, and we don't love God. Otherwise, some of these things we are talking about, we will not even have to talk about them at all. Started a group called FINC, and it's basically about relationships and parenting. And the link to me is that basic point where there is a couple and there are children. That's the parenting and the relationships. In a family where the couple gets it right and they train their children right, many times the rest is history. They will produce people like a Martin Luther, like a Wole Soyinka, like a Pastor Ituah, like a Dr. Sonny Nebi, and the rest is history. We continue to have good leaders. We continue to have good things come out of people like that. So I think we need to focus inward. It's not us against them. It's we trying to change ourselves and see what we can do from our own circle. Everybody has a sphere of influence. We have influence on our families. We have influence on our friends. Let us start from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Temitope. Passionate. Thank you. Ademola, and then I'll come to Noyo Kubeyi Edem.
And then maybe we can close with Lara.
Yeah. Okay, Ademola, go ahead.
I've been listening patiently to all the suggestions that have been made today. Unfortunately, solutions that need to be addressed primarily require systemic, deep-rooted, and you got your rent seekers that prevents an enabling environment for businesses or individuals to thrive. Fundamental issues that I have is accountability and the lack of rule of law. I think when these two issues can be addressed, I think we can move forward. That's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much. Rule of law, law and order, accountability. We note that and we'll take it. Noyo. I like the briefness. I hope everybody can take a cue from that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in. Good evening, all, depending on where you are from, where you are joining. Good afternoon for those of us in America, or good morning. My name is Noyo Kubenje Edem. I am the district representative of Nido America, BOT, vice chairman of the BOT, and representative District 1. I've listened carefully. I joined a little bit late, but why I want to say something, I think I heard one of the people who made a contribution a couple of minutes ago saying that this organization should not endorse anyone running for an election. I've been following this organization closely through my friend Jumoke Akintelo. And from my understanding is that you're trying to make people understand that we need good leaders. You are trying to bring the awareness to our people who, for one reason or the other, either did not know or they pretend not to know that we are suffering as a people because of our bad leaders, the bad choices that we have made over.
You went on mute.
Okay, from leaders who have allowed us to suffer. I call this intentional poverty and lack that we are suffering in Nigeria as a people. So this organization, I think your role here is to let our people know, after you have seen all the candidates running for elective position offices, bring out their qualities, let us know their track record, the things they have done, let the public know, so that people will make an informed choice. If for any reason you do not want to endorse any of the candidates. But I think, let me tell you the truth, that at this stage that we are in Nigeria, that if you are not endorsing any one of the candidates and telling people that this is the reason why we think that this is the best candidate, I think that would be injustice to the people. It doesn't matter if people approve of you doing that or not, but you know that what you are doing is to help the masses. So what I will say is that you look carefully, pay attention to other people, assess them, do whatever you want to do to find out, measure what they are saying, let the people know. And if you want to endorse a candidate, fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's what I want to say, because we need to be delivered from this poverty. Whatever is happening to Nigeria, we need to be delivered from it as a people. We have suffered more than enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Noyo. We get your point. I think the last person that we'll take before I allow Jumoke to sort of summarize everything is Lara. Is Lara there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Yes,
Lara, go ahead with your.
Yeah, I pretty much am going to thank you everyone that have spoken. Thank you everyone on the platform today. Everybody has really voiced out from their hearts, and what I'm going to say is pretty much going to echo what everybody else has said. Yes, a better Nigeria starts with each and every one of us, and we must be ready to do something. We can't all rule Nigeria, and some of us don't even have the right to vote, those of us in diaspora, but that does not make us handicapped, because there are things we can do. And I know that everything starts with us. We need to use our voice. We need to use our resources, as Sister Kofo Koka rightfully positioned it. Everybody must come to the table with their talent, with their time, with their treasure. Whatever you have, bring it to the table. And I believe it all starts really with literacy. There are two angles that we need to approach this because we all need to understand that we are where we are today because of some bad decisions we've all made consciously or unconsciously. We've all been part of the problems. And now to be part of the solution, we all have to own that and decide for ourselves that I need to do something. Whatever little, is it my time, is it my talent, is it my treasure? What am I willing to bring to the table? And so on this forum, on this platform, there's an angle that we have approached this. We created the scoring tool to help our people decide and put all the candidates side by side and weigh them and see which criteria, who swims to the top of the table based on some of those leadership qualities that we desire from a leader. So we're gonna be rolling that out very soon, and everybody will have the opportunity to engage it. The other angle that I want to speak to today is the need to start with literacy. Literacy, because what we have in Nigeria today with our people is really is a poverty of mindset. It's intellectual poverty and political poverty. Everybody in Nigeria, every single one of us, go through the process of hiring. Some of us have maids in our houses. Some of us have gardeners. We have people working for us. And there are ways and processes we go about before we select and we hire one. We need to take that as well to the decisions we make when we bring in government. We need to teach our people how to do that. We need to liberate our people from the bondage, I call it bondage of intellectual poverty, seriously. And we need to let them know that each person, each Nigerian have a voice and their vote counts. That's, we need to unlearn what we have all thought or learned before that, thinking our vote don't count, thinking everything is going to be rigged. Yes, corruption is not going to go out of our system automatically. And election, bribing and all that is not going to go overnight. But if we all go out well-equipped, well-informed, if we've done our own work before we go out there and vote, what truly happens when people rig election is that it's easier for people to rig elections when we don't show up, when we don't count, when we don't go out there and cast our vote. But when we go out there and really make our voice heard, the margin is so huge that it really makes it a lot difficult for them to use whatever they've been using before. And that's why you will see people line up behind candidates that they truly know themselves that this person is not going to take them to the promised land, but they will line up because somebody told them that this person is the person that have the likelihood of winning. But if you go with your mind out there to cast your votes, and you understand the fundamentals of what you need in your leadership, I think we will all move the needle. So we need to try starting that education. Some of us are in the diaspora. Go to our little villages, our towns, go to the grassroots and start educating our people. Again, this is talking about movement that some of you talked about in this sharing. We need to go to those grassroots, educate them, our grandparents, our parents, our circles of influence. That's what to do before you go and cast your votes. That's really where we will start having that change. 2023 is the start. It's not, we're just starting, but we need to start it now. We need to all pick up our lot in the decay of the land and see which aspect are we going to own. What are we going? We can't sit on the fence and point fingers because seriously, whatever we put, whoever we put there, we're all part of that decision of how they got there. Either we chose them or we decided to fold our hands and not do anything about it. We are all stakeholders in a brighter Nigeria, and we need to hold the people we put in office accountable. And we need to try our very best with our talent, with our time, with our treasure, whichever way we decide to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lara. Thank you for those comments. And I think we can close or bring the session to an end on that. I don't know if Jumoke or Sonny have anything they want to say. What I'm going to appeal is that Olu at the back end will, or Jumoke, if you can, will go through the process and bring out all the takeaways as to how we can make Nigeria great again from this platform and so on and so forth. And then we'll find a way to implement the scorecard at some stage. So I don't know if Jumoke or Sonny have any other thing they would like to add or subtract.
No, I don't. I just brought up the basis by which the leadership scorecard was developed and what we put in the factors that we put into consideration that we are also trying to use to reorient. The reorientation is one of the takeaways that a lot of people spoke on this platform, and I think this is the beginning, not just for the presidential candidate, but for all the people we elect into office, and those qualities that we need for them to lead us to lead the nation out of poverty, out of unemployment, to help us get the education that the future needs. So I had pulled that up. And this is the basis, the visionary leader, you have spoken about this a few times, Pastor, on the platform. And so those are the factors that are in the leadership scoring criteria poll that we're going to be rolling out next week. So this, I would probably attach this to the chat so that people can look at it and read it, and then also circulate it, discuss it with the people within your circle, why it is so important for us to be intentional about the people that we vote for this time around, not just this time around, but going forward. So I can add this as an attachment so that people can read up on it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sonny, do you have any closing remarks or comments?
Okay, just to respond to Yemisi, Olua Yemisi, she said her question is yet to be answered. Pastor, do you want to attempt? She was talking about youth. Who will take care of the youth? That, a youth came up with a gasless automobile idea. She wanted to know. I think it's a question for the candidates that are coming up now. It should form part of what you are interrogating them about. What plans do they actually have for the youth? I don't know if Pastor has anything to say to that, but we really don't have an answer for you completely.
Well, youth mobilization and youth encouragement is actually the job of the government of the day, okay? And they're the ones who are most best positioned to do it effectively. And part of our pain today is that no government is taking even Nigeria, the average Nigerian, seriously, not to talk about the youth, and they're sometimes very dismissive about the youth. We've had comments from our president about the youth and so on and so forth. But I think it's also possible for ALG or a movement or the other to also take on this youth engagement thing. It's possible to function as a pseudo government if we have enough energy and gravitas and we can raise enough resource and contact base, and then just do things that need to be done regardless of government, operate outside of government, engage FDIs, engage international donor agencies, engage the diaspora, raise volumes and sums of money, putting structures in place to take care of all these gaps that we see in Nigeria, the social orientation, youth engagement, empowerment of people, like somebody had suggested at one stage or the other, education investments, encouraging it, and so on and so forth, acting as a conduit between people coming into Nigeria and wanting to do business in Nigeria. And the only thing we probably would not be able to do effectively is providing security, because that is totally a government affair. But regardless, we can put pressure on the security forces as best as we can. I think, having said that, it's just best to close at this stage. This is 7 o'clock, 7:05. We've been on since 5 o'clock. We usually try to end at 6:30, but the discussion has been so robust that we've pushed the paper a little bit. So I think we should just leave it at that for now. And then hopefully there'll be another open mic very soon where we can discuss something similar and we can all come back and weigh in. But it will be nice to see the outcomes and the summaries and the decisions of this particular forum. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all very much for your time. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your passion about Nigeria. Let's keep being prayerful and let's keep begging God that God, whatever Nigeria may have done to offend you, our forebears have done to offend you, please have mercy and let there be a way for Nigeria in the name of Jesus Christ. But I think well-meaning Nigerians can come together and seize the moment. Just simply seize the moment. God bless you. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week, same time, 5 o'clock on the same platform.
So much.
Please invite
Thank you
people.
so much, Pastor Ituah.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Thank you for joining.
Okay, thank you,
First
Tony.
time
Well
here,
done.
but I enjoyed it.
so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Know you.
Bye.
Good being EJ. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night, all.
Please announce to people, let people know. It's around. Fadilo. Good to see you. Tony will seem to be losing weight.
I'm on the listening board. I said I'm on the listening.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Reverend Ashua, just thank you so much. Anthony, thank you. Ighodalo, thank you. Florence, thank you. Fidelis, thank you. Thank everyone. God bless you.
Pastor, you never mentioned my name. I will not leave
Afolabi,
there.
you are the first name I